When we talk about the croissant and Cinnabon, we're not simply talking about a French roll and a cinnamon bun, but two completely different approaches to the art of morning pleasure and comfort food creation that define our expectations of desserts. The croissant, or classic viennoiserie, gave us the opportunity to enjoy a crispy, airy, and even elegant breakfast, to engage in leisurely morning rituals, and to feel part of European culture. It was precisely thanks to the croissant that simplicity in baking disappeared, ushering in the era of laminated dough. But Cinnabon, in turn, is not just the next step. It's a true sensory quantum leap that has the potential to change not only your mornings, but entire shopping malls, sweet standards, and the globalized fast food industry. So I suggest that you understand their differences, of course, from the roots, that is, from the very foundation. And here before us emerge two absolutely polar myths and two completely different eras. On the one hand, there is the croissant, whose history is shrouded in legends dating back to the 17th century, to the siege of Vienna by the Ottoman Empire in 1683, when, according to one of the most romantic, but alas, probably apocryphal versions, a baker was working at night and heard the digging of Turkish sappers, raising the alarm and saving the city. And as a reward, he was granted the right to bake a bun in the shape of a crescent moon, a symbol of the Turkish flag, which was to be eaten as a sign of victory and humiliation of the enemy. Although historians tend to attribute the real birth of the Kipferl, a kind of Austrian ancestor of the croissant, to much earlier times and much more prosaic reasons. It was this legend, then transferred to Paris by Marie Antoinette in the 18th century, that cemented its image as not just a baked good, but an entire cultural symbol. The croissant as we know it today, airy, flaky, yeasty, and drenched in the finest butter, was the creation of Parisian bakers in the 1920s, who took an old form and applied a complex, labor-intensive puff pastry technique to it, transforming it from a dense roll into the golden, crisp, light cloud that has become synonymous with the French breakfast. But here we have Cinnabon, and its history has no sieges, no royal courts, no centuries-old traditions. It's the quintessential American business dream, born in 1985 in Seattle, Washington, when father and son, Rich and Greg Koman, set out to create the world's best cinnamon roll. They didn't just bake a roll, they created a franchise empire, a carefully designed, precision-engineered product whose formula was honed to perfection. So we can see that the history of Cinnabon is a story of marketing, logistics, and the perfection of meeting the needs of consumers craving an instant, uncompromising, warm, sticky, sweet hit. Its origins are neither hazy nor romantic. They are clearly documented and anchored in the modern shopping mall. Let's move on to round two, the science of dough. We see an even deeper divide. The croissant is an ode to layering, a masterpiece of lamination, a process that requires cold, time, and incredible precision. The baker must take d'étrun, a yeast dough made from flour, water, yeast, milk, sugar, and salt, and barrage, a block of butter, and, through repeated folding and rolling, create a perfect structure of dozens of alternating, ultra-thin layers of dough and butter. These layers, when heated in the oven, transform the water from the butter into steam, inflating each layer like a miniature balloon, giving the croissant its signature crispness, lightweight, and tender, almost weightless crumb. The ideal croissant should have exactly 27 layers, not just a number, but the promise of a perfect crunch at first bite. The taste of a croissant is, first and foremost, the taste of good quality butter, the delicate, slightly sour note of yeast fermentation, and the subtle balance of salt and sugar. It is elegant and restrained, and its beauty lies in the emptiness inside, in the way it melts rather than fills. Now, Cinnabon is a completely different school of engineering. It doesn't strive for layering. It demands softness and richness. Its dough is a rich, yeasty yeast dough to which lots of milk, sugar, and most importantly, fat, butter, or margarine are added not to create layers, but to ensure a dense, yet crumbly and moist texture that remains soft even after cooling. But the real star of the show is its filling. And here, we come to the brand's signature secret. Makara cinnamon, which is claimed to be grown in the mountains of Indonesia, and which has a stronger, brighter, more intense aroma and flavor than regular cinnamon. And its uniqueness lies in the high content of essential oils that do not evaporate during baking, but when mixed with brown sugar and plenty of butter, turn into a chewy, caramelized, spicy mass that soaks every curl of the bun. But I hasten to surprise you, because that's not all. Because the final chord that makes Cinnabon absolutely different from its European opponent is the generous, thick, glossy cream cheese glaze that not only covers, but literally bathes the hot bun. And this glaze is a mixture of cream cheese, powdered sugar, butter, and vanilla, which, melting in the heat, creates that very sticky, sweet, milky texture that is the signature of this dessert. So, with that out of the way, let's look at the next important difference between them. Sensory experience. It's here that we choose which of these two comfort food monsters we need more at any given moment. A croissant, for example, is a sound and a crunch. It's a ritual when you pick it up. Its golden crust cracking, and that sound is a promise of freshness and craftsmanship, while inside is a delicate, airy web. Its taste is a subtle, balanced symphony, dominated not by sweetness, but by the richness of a creamy taste. It's the perfect accompaniment, begging for a cup of black coffee or hot chocolate. It can be cut open and filled with tender ham and cheese, in which case it becomes the embodiment of the French art de vivre, the art of living. It's a refined, morning, often unnoticed, yet perfectly executed backdrop to the start of the day. Cinnabon, on the other hand, is a powerful, uncompromising aroma and warmth. A bun that you can't eat without getting dirty. It's sticky, it's heavy. It announces itself before you've even seen it. Its aroma, wafting from the bakeries, is part of its marketing strategy. It beckons. It calls for immediate consumption. And its taste is a shock dose of sugar and cinnamon. A sticky, chewy center where cream cheese and caramel blend into a smooth, narcotic sweet spot. And it's not a morning breakfast for an elegant start to the day. It's an act of hedonism that often occurs after lunch, as a reward, as a consolation, as the purest, most concentrated dessert that requires a glass of cold milk to somehow neutralize this sweet, spicy avalanche. Now, let's move beyond the obvious discrepancies and consider the logistics of consumption. A croissant is truly a food for movement, for a rushed morning. It's easy to pick up, bite into on the go, and doesn't require any extra utensils or napkins to avoid disaster. This makes it the perfect companion for the Parisian metro or a morning stroll. Its structure allows it to be a relatively clean product for off-the-table consumption, and even if it crumbles, the crumbs are brittle, dry, and easy to brush off. Cinnabon, however, is a completely different matter. It's food real estate. Its physical structure, its stickiness, its size, and its temperature demand a stop, a seat, and a focus on the eating process. It's the center of the table, not meant to be consumed on the go, because the icing will run, the filling will spill out, and all that sugary mess will end up on your hands. It's a dessert that says, stop, sit, and let me fill you up completely. When it comes to freshness and longevity, we discover a fundamental difference in their DNA, so to speak. This is because the croissant is a modern-day philosophy. Its ideal state exists within a very narrow window of time, the first few hours after emerging from the oven, when its crust is at its crispiest and the crumb still retains moisture and airiness. By the end of the day, it becomes soft, losing its crunch and flaky texture, and although it can still be eaten, its soul has departed, making the baker's skill even more precious, as they must time it perfectly. Cinnabon, on the other hand, is a product that, thanks to its high moisture and fat sugar content, has a much more forgiving texture. Its dough doesn't go stale as quickly, and the sticky glaze and filling, on the contrary, help it stay soft and juicy for a longer time. It's a warm treat that can be reheated and will almost return to its original state, which is an important factor for a high-volume chain product. And finally, we certainly can't ignore the nutritional and calorie aspects, where the difference between the two becomes almost dramatic. A croissant, despite its abundance of butter, is a relatively light product in volume, containing a lot of air. A standard classic croissant weighs about 50-70 grams and contains, on average, 250 to 350 calories, and is perceived as part of a balanced breakfast. Cinnabon, on the other hand, especially its giant classic roll, is a true calorie monster. It's a complete meal disguised as a bun. It can weigh up to 300 grams, and its calorie content, thanks to the huge amount of sugar in the dough, filling, and, most importantly, the thick glaze, often exceeds 800 calories and can reach 1,000, making it the equivalent of an entire meal. It's a dessert that doesn't just complement a meal, it becomes it. And so we come to the end of today's video. Today we have seen and learned so much. So we come to the conclusion that comparing Croissant and Cinnabon is almost the same as comparing minimalism and Baroque. Both styles create beauty, but one is a tradition that requires many years of craftsmanship, sophistication, restrained but deep sound, its value in its naturalness, history, and purity of ingredients. And the other is loud, instant, electrified, created for maximum effect here and now, using the entire palette of flavors and textures to achieve instant, powerful happiness. And it is incredibly successful in its goal. A croissant is a graceful crescent that demands respect for butter and layers. It's a pastry you eat to feel instantly French, a discreet, buttery crunch perfect for starting the day. Cinnabon is a tight spiral of cinnamon sugar filling, drenched in a river of icing. It's a pastry you eat to feel happy in the here and now. It's a loud, sweet, spicy embrace. And in this great battle, there are no losers, only two winners, each reigning supreme in their own sphere. The croissant rules the world of elegant breakfast and baking artistry, while Cinnabon reigns supreme in the realm of comforting, sticky, spicy, and hyper-sweet desserts. So choose your product based on your taste preferences, not trends or public opinion.